Hi, my name is Damon Brown. You can learn more about me at damonbrown.net. My thing is helping non-traditional entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, side hustlers, and other people like yourself bloom. That is my mission. What we're talking about today is one of my favorite things that I found recently. It's called the zones of possibility. And it's a little graph that has four different levels. I found out about it from With Honors. On Instagram, it's with.honors. They're also available online and I believe on LinkedIn. Thank you so much, guys, for sharing your info with me. And it talks about the four different zones of possibility. The first zone is comfort, then it's scarcity, then it's growth, and then it's abundance. Again, it's comfort, then scarcity, then growth, then abundance. Let's go and break this down because I think there's a lot of good insight here. The first level is comfort. That is what's identified as low risk. In other words, if you're staying exactly where you are, it's the equivalent of a turtle always staying in the same shell, or probably more appropriately, a crab staying in the same shell. And if you know anything about crabs, I'm originally from the shores of New Jersey. So if you know anything about crabs, most of them actually have to let go of their shell and move into another shell. And some folks end up being stuck in the shell even as they get bigger. And they just end up being really uncomfortable, but ends up being low risk. Low risk, low reward. So that's the comfort level, number one. Number two is scarcity, which means you're worried about how you're going to get your next meal. Ends up being fear. So that'll be the equivalent of the crab who soft, tender muscle has come out of the shell and they're trying to get to the new shell, but they haven't gotten there yet. And there's predators and there's natural issues with sand getting in and so forth. And so it comes from a place of fear. Carol Dweck, a very popular psychologist, talks about this in her book Mindset, where you might have heard of something being a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. A fixed mindset is saying that I'm either a winner or I'm a loser. There's number one, and then everything else is a loser, right? If I end up doing well at this, if I end up getting this money, that means someone else doesn't have money. But that also means the reverse, where if someone else wins the lottery or sells their startup or ends up having a best-selling book or whatever that metric is, that means that there's less in it for me. So there's a lot of fear when it's concerned with that. It's still a higher level than the comfort level because you actually might be taking risks, but you're taking risks in such a myopic black and white way that you might not be fulfilling yourself as high as you potentially could be. So again, you have the comfort, you have scarcity, then you have growth. Growth mindset ends up, which is what I just talked about with Carol Dweck. There's an overlap here. Growth mindset is basically saying, I have things I'm going to achieve in this world. I talk about it briefly in my book, Build From Now, How to Know Your Power, See Your Abundance, and Nourish the World. Whenever you're watching this, it'll be out on January 2021. So feel free to check it out at your favorite bookstore over at damonbrown.net. But I talk about that a little bit in the book where you actually having these goals helps you get to the next level. And that's a growth mindset, saying I'm going to achieve this by X amount of time, or I want to show up this way in the world. That gives you a higher purpose, what Simon Sinek would talk about as far as starting with why. You start to understand your why. But that's still not the highest level. The highest level would be abundance. And when it comes to abundance, it has to do with, ironically enough, my last book, Knowing Your Worth. And my book is called Bring Your Worth, How to Level Up Your Creative Power, Value, and Service to the World. And one of the things that you talk about or that you understand when you listen to the book is that you have this opportunity to bring your full self into any arena, into any world. In other words, if you're asking for a seat at the table, then you have the opportunity to go even greater and to go further and to actually bring your whole self to your environment versus you bringing pieces of yourself that you believe will actually be accepted, and that's it. Right? So there's different levels to having that comfort. What I find fascinating with what Honors shared as far as with the zone of possibility is that each one really has to do with the inner journey. We can talk about the systems that are going on. Again, I talk about in my new book, Build From Now, where the book is actually split into two halves. The first half of the book is an outside job. which talks about the systems that we have in place. Some of them aren't so good for us. Some of them actually repress us. And then the other part is called the inside job, which is how we can help to dismantle or change these systems based on our particular strengths. Again, our focus, agility, time, or energy, as I talk about at the buildfromnowquiz.com that you can take right now for free. With that energy there, or proverbial energy there, it's easy to say there are certain systematic things that are going to keep us in our place and that there's not much we can do about it. This zone of possibility actually argues the reverse. Almost all of it is an inner battle, which I think is really important. You can't ignore the systems, but what you have most control over is your mindset, is who you are, how you show up, what you bring your worth to, how you come to the table. If you think about with the first level, again, to remind you, it's comfort, scarcity, growth, and abundance. When you start with comfort, if you want to be comfortable, I think it's Brene Brown, and I'm paraphrasing her, but she said, comfort and growth don't live on the same side of the street. In other words, if you're going to achieve these major things, then you can't stay as the person that you are. Again, an inner job. You get to the next level as far as scarcity. If you feel as though that there can only be one person in your circle or in your eyesight that's doing amazing stuff, then that means that you can't do amazing stuff. And you're doing the contrasting comparison. That's automatically limiting you, as well as your gratitude and your respect for the other person. If you're in a growth mindset, that is an awesome place to be. And a lot of us can hang out there for a little while. I know I've been there for a minute. But it's not quite going to get you there because it's still goal-oriented. Abundance is saying that I'm going to serve the world, nourish the world, as I talk about in Build From Now. I'm going to nourish the world at my highest capacity, which is well above just saying I'm going to reach this goal. You can go and say I'm going to be a millionaire over the next 5 years, which is a nice goal. That's growth. Cool. Nothing wrong with that. But then you could also say I'm going to achieve and build on this much higher level and have a level of strength and a level of showing up to the world where my millions will actually come from making the world a better place, which is a much, much higher level of showing up. So I hope you enjoyed this breakdown. Again, thanks to With Honors, and to explain it one more time, it's the zones of possibility, and it is comfort, scarcity, growth, and abundance. I think it's so important that we go and think about those things. If you want to have more growth and abundance in your life, come by, take my Build From Now quiz based on the upcoming book over at buildfromnowquiz.com. It's free. It's only 3 questions. It's multiple choice. And you have a great opportunity to figure out what your biggest strengths are. All right? So remember to bring your worth and always build from now.